Imagine waking up one morning and feeling different, not just well rested, but supercharged. You take a deep breath, and it feels like the purest, most invigorating air you've ever experienced. What if that feeling wasn't just in your head? What if overnight, the oxygen concentration in our atmosphere jumped by 10%? It sounds like a sci-fi dream, a natural performance enhancer for the entire planet. But the reality would be far more complex, and frankly, a lot more dangerous than you might think. Let us dive into this superoxygenated world and explore what would really happen if our planet suddenly got a massive oxygen boost. Right now, our atmosphere is about 21% oxygen. The rest is mostly nitrogen, with a few other gases mixed in. This balance is the result of billions of years of evolution, and it's perfectly tuned for life as we know it. Increasing that to about 23%, a 10% rise relative to the current level, might not sound like a huge deal, but it would trigger a cascade of dramatic and immediate changes across the globe. The first thing you'd probably notice is a personal boost. With more oxygen in every breath, your body's cells would get more fuel. Your stamina would increase, your muscles would feel stronger, and your mind would feel sharper. Athletes would shatter world records. A marathon runner might feel like they could just keep going, their muscles recovering almost instantly from fatigue. You'd feel more alert, more energetic, almost superhuman. This happens because our aerobic respiration, the process our cells use to create energy, would become incredibly efficient. More oxygen means more ATP, the energy currency of our cells. It's like upgrading your car from regular fuel to high-octane racing fuel. The performance boost would be undeniable. But this personal upgrade comes with a dark side. Oxygen is highly reactive. It's the O in oxidation, which is the scientific term for processes like rusting and burning. Inside our bodies, this increased reactivity would lead to a surge in free radicals. These are unstable molecules that can damage cells, proteins, and DNA over time. This could accelerate aging, increase the risk of various diseases, and lead to a condition called oxygen toxicity. Our bodies have antioxidant defenses to combat this, but they would be completely overwhelmed by this sudden influx. So while you'd feel amazing in the short term, the long-term health consequences could be severe. We'd essentially be living faster and burning out quicker. Now, let's look beyond our own bodies. What would happen to the world around us? One of the most immediate and terrifying effects would be on fire. Fire loves oxygen. With more of it in the air, things would become far more flammable. A tiny spark that would normally fizzle out could instantly erupt into a raging inferno. Wildfires would become larger, hotter, and practically impossible to control. Even damp wood and green vegetation would burn with ease. Campfires would be a massive risk, and a single lightning strike could incinerate an entire forest in a fraction of the time it takes today. Our cities filled with combustible materials would become death traps. Firefighters would be fighting a losing battle against blazes that burn with an unprecedented ferocity. The world would become a tinderbox, constantly on the verge of a catastrophic fire. And what about the other inhabitants of our planet? Let's start with the small ones, insects. Insects don't have lungs like we do. They breathe through a network of tiny tubes called trachea that deliver oxygen directly to their cells. The size of an insect is limited by how efficiently these tubes can transport oxygen. In a higher oxygen environment, this system becomes much more effective, allowing them to grow much, much larger. Imagine dragonflies with the wingspan of a hawk, spiders the size of dinner plates, and ants as big as your thumb. It would be like stepping back into the Carboniferous period, an era 300 million years ago, when oxygen levels were as high as 35% and giant insects ruled the earth. While fascinating, a world of giant bugs would be pretty unsettling for us humans. Plants, on the other hand, would thrive. Photosynthesis, the process plants use to create food, produces oxygen as a byproduct. While they don't directly use atmospheric oxygen for this process, the overall change in atmospheric chemistry and the accelerated decomposition of organic matter in the soil would likely boost their growth. Forests would become denser and grow more rapidly. However, this lush new world would also be incredibly flammable, as we've already discussed. So you have these massive, fast-growing forests that are just waiting for a spark to go up in a colossal fireball. The impact on larger animals would be varied. Like humans, they'd experience a boost in physical performance. Predators would be faster and stronger, but so would their prey, leading to an intense evolutionary arms race. However, just like us, they would also suffer from the long-term effects of oxygen toxicity, potentially leading to shorter lifespans and new health problems across entire species. Even non-living things wouldn't be spared. The process of oxidation would go into overdrive. Iron and other metals would rust at an astonishing rate. Cars, bridges, buildings, and all of our metal infrastructure would corrode and crumble in a fraction of their expected lifespan. Maintaining our modern world would become a constant, and likely losing battle against accelerated decay. It would be as if nature itself was actively trying to tear down everything we've built. The oceans wouldn't be immune either. More oxygen would dissolve into the surface waters, which could initially benefit some marine life. But this change could also disrupt the delicate chemical balance of the oceans. It might affect the growth of phytoplankton, the foundation of the marine food web, in unpredictable ways. Furthermore, increased bacterial activity would be rampant. Bacteria, like all living things, use oxygen for respiration. A superoxygenated environment would be a paradise for aerobic bacteria. While some are beneficial, many are pathogenic. We could see the rise of new, more virulent diseases as bacteria multiply and evolve at an accelerated rate. So let's piece this all together. In our world with 10% more oxygen, we would feel like superheroes for a little while. We'd be stronger, faster, and more alert, but this feeling would be fleeting. We would be living on a planet that is actively trying to burn itself down. Wildfires would be uncontrollable, our cities would be at constant risk, and our infrastructure would be rusting away before our eyes. We'd share the world with giant insects and face the threat of new, fast-spreading diseases. And our own bodies, despite the initial boost, would be aging faster and breaking down from the inside out due to oxidative stress. The delicate balance that has allowed life to flourish for millions of years would be shattered. The very element that gives us life in excess would become a powerful agent of destruction. It's a stark reminder of how interconnected and finely tuned our planet's systems are. A change that seems small on the surface can have profound and catastrophic consequences. The world wouldn't end in a single bang, but it would transform into a hyperreactive, dangerously unstable version of itself, a ticking time bomb, where life burns brightly, but far too quickly. It is a fascinating thought experiment that highlights just how precious and perfect our current atmosphere really is. So the next time you take a deep, refreshing breath, take a moment to appreciate that perfect 21% mix. It's the sweet spot that keeps us and our entire world alive and in balance. What other what-if scenarios have you wondered about? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the bell, stay curious.